Here's a picture of the Mogul engine. It's got the side shaft down the side of the engine. We're going to be working on that today. I need to get this one apart on this 8 horse. So this side shaft does a lot. It runs the eccentric for the igniter. It runs the cam lobes for the valves. It runs the governor there behind the flywheel. And it runs the fuel pump eccentric at the tail end of the shaft. And that's where we're going to be working, getting that all apart. And that bearing back there is just non-existent, so I'm going to have to recast that, and plus it just needs to be cleaned up. So we're just going to be taking that shaft apart. So let's get going. Okay, first order of business is to clean this keyway up. This key, somebody beat the living daylights out of it when they put it in there and really mushroomed it. So I'm going to cut the end of it off so I got a clean surface there so I can see what I'm doing. So that looks a lot better, and we'll get to work now. So there's the eccentric on the tail end of the shaft. That runs the fuel pump, and it shouldn't be painted, but we're going to try drilling that key out, and hopefully we'll get some success there. But I'm going to use an 1/8 inch drill bit, drilling a 3/16 key. It's a little dicey, but just go straight and slow and stay out of the shaft and that eccentric, and make sure the drill just stays in the key. That'll relieve the stresses of the key and hopefully make it so that it comes out a lot easier, because I think it's going to be pretty tight. WD-40, another product that should be sponsoring the channel. I use a lot of it. It's good for keeping these drill bits from binding up, and it cleans out the chips, and anything you can do to keep that little 1/8 inch drill bit from breaking, you do. WD-40 also kind of cools the metal, just keeps it from binding up. We're about a 1/4 inch in now. These keys drill real easy. It's just all about staying straight and not getting in a big hurry to bind that drill bit up. And a little WD-40 again to clean out the chips, and that's just what it's going to be here for the next few minutes, is drilling that in nice and slow, and hopefully we don't break a drill bit. Fast forward a couple minutes, we're getting real close there. It's about ready to break through. That's a critical point. That drill bit, when it breaks through, it can catch and it'll shatter, and that's very disappointing when that happens after you've taken so much care. So just real light pressure. Just go slow here, and we'll see what it does here. Great. All the way through. That's awesome. So I'm going to put a little heat on it now. Just to kind of warm it up a little bit. I'm looking for, like the 250, 300 degree range here. Just a little propane torch to do that. Just kind of relieves some stress. Oh, the old WD-40 didn't like that, but just to warm it up a little bit, maybe anything to kind of help with that stresses in there. One thing about these engines, this steel that like this side shaft's made out of is very soft. It would be what we would call 1018 mild steel these days, and it's real easy to bend that. Just terribly easy to bend, so you don't even realize you're doing it. So like I'm going to be using a pin punch on this, and I just want to warm this up just a little bit to give it just a little more edge to come apart without damaging anything. So we'll just give that a shot, put a little heat on that. We're going to try a small pin punch. It's just a terrible angle on the back side there to try to drive it. I want to try to drive this key in this direction because it was put in from the other side, and I just think it's probably going to come out just the tail end of the shaft there, but we'll try tapping it back the other way in case we get lucky. But yeah, that's going nowhere. That's going to be it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be just working it back and forth here. This little punch can't get too much force on it, but I don't really want to get too crazy about it. I'm going to try a bigger punch and a little heavier hammer, put a little more force on it. This was about a 30-minute process for doing this, And it's just you just got to take your time and be patient with this stuff. You don't want to break things or bend anything. So after about 30 minutes, this is where we're at. Put that larger punch in there, it's a little bigger hammer, and hit it one more time. And hey, look at that, it moved. That's really great. The whole shaft moved, but it did punch the key out. Oh, the little pin punch won't fit in there. That's wrong angle, and the big one won't either. So we're going to use a pair of pliers here to work that key back and forth and get it pulled out of there. It's still pretty tight. Still pretty precise fit there. So just keep working it back and forth, and the key is about to come out. There it is. So it looks pretty good, not too much breakthrough, so I didn't do any damage, so I'm very pleased with that. And I'll use a brass punch to take that eccentric off, the moment we've all been waiting for. Get that eccentric off, and then we can move on to the governor. Okay, so this is the governor. This weight here on the top has to come off. There's another weight on the bottom. We've got to get this governor apart so we can get the shaft out of there. This governor is a very precise piece of equipment. It's got real tight tolerances, and all these pins are just very tight tolerance. If you ever have an engine that hunts around or doesn't want to regulate speed very well, it's most likely that you got some slop in the governor assembly somewhere. The way this works, those weights swing up and out and then move a yoke forward, and that lever on the right hand side controls the butterfly in the mixer, and it's all tensioned with that spring that's in the back, and that hand wheel there on the left hand side there is what you screw in and out, and that sets the tension on the spring and therefore sets the tension on the governor. And we'll take a pin punch and drive that little pin out, and the governor weight should come right out of there. There it goes. We'll turn the shaft here in just a little bit and take the other one off. I try to put all my parts in that yellow parts bin there for the governor. It just helps me keep things together by assembly, so there's no confusion on what goes where and what nuts and bolts are with what. So there's the other weight. Same sort of business for taking it off. Cotter pins drive the pin out, and the weight will come off. And there goes the pin, and there goes the weight, and back in the yellow container. And now we're going to work on the nose of that governor. There's a yoke there that gets pivoted and moves that arm, and that turned out to be quite tight. There's some jack bolts that hold the shaft in, and this bottom cage here, this governor, has a lot of rat pee and old oil and grease dirt in it, and it's just kind of corroded up a little bit, so I don't want to break anything. So I spent quite a bit of time on this, but just start working on it here, working it back and forth, getting it freed up. Okay, about 20 minutes later, made a little progress, got it to move pretty well. I'm gonna try to just get the shaft out of here. If I can get it to move enough that I can get the shaft to clear and come out, then that's what I'll do, and then work on it separately. That wheel there in the back, that hand wheel I got my hand on, that's what sets the governor tension. So I'm going to back that off, I think, and try to get some tension off of that spring, and soak it down with WD-40 if you don't know what else to do. Hopefully it'll dissolve some of the corrosion and stuff there that's in that bushing, and we'll see if it'll come loose. I'm gonna that turns real nice. I'm really pleased with that. It's got very fine threads on that shaft, and I'm glad that they didn't get any paint on those, because that would be terribly hard to get cleaned out, and it seems to turn pretty nice. Okay, so spin that adjustment wheel back and get that unthreaded, get that out of the way, and there you can see those threads, and that is all loose, and we'll see if we can get that shaft to start moving. Okay, so we'll start moving that shaft, see if we can get it out of there, and there it goes. That's great. Move that collar around a little bit for the governor weights, and get that shaft out of there. You can see the paint on the end of it. Just that whole shaft should have no paint at all. So there it is, and now we can work on the governor pivot there at the bottom of that housing. I'll just work on that off camera and work on that. That governor weight holder won't even come off because it's so close tolerance that the paint kept it from moving. So I'll work on this piece here off camera. Okay, so we got the side shaft disassembled as basically as far as I'm going to take it. Need to work on getting this, somebody put some junk primer on all these parts. A lot of these parts don't get paint, like the side shaft itself and these governor weights, so we got to take that apart. So we got the side shaft here. It's about 50 inches long. There's 36 parts on this side shaft. Most of them are sitting here, a couple of them aren't, but we got to fix this broken casting here and clean up the parts. So that's what we're going to start working on. I'll probably use combination of paint stripper and electrolysis on these parts. One of these parts does have a repair on it, but it seems like it was done very well, so I'm not going to worry about that. Anyway, thanks for watching the video, and if you like what you see, like and subscribe, and I'll do a pan through and point to each part here at the end of the video, and just put a text in on what each part is so you can get a close-up of it. So anyway, thanks for watching, and see you next time.